Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to completely shatter your preconceived notions about how to spot a liar. If you think you can tell when someone's making things up just because they avoid eye contact or, fidget in their chair, well, prepare to have your mind blown. We're breaking down the hard science of deception to show you what actually happens when someone lies to your face.
Let's kick things off with a totally staggering number, 62%. According to researcher Robert Feldman over at the University of Massachusetts, 62% of people tell 2 to 3 lies every 10 minutes during a conversation. Just let that sink in for a second. In a quick chat over coffee, the person sitting right across from you is probably dropping multiple falsehoods. Crazy, right?
Which brings us to a really important question. Are you being lied to right now? And more importantly, do you actually have the tools to know when you're being played? Most of us like to think we've got a pretty good internal lie detector, but honestly, the majority of what we've been taught about lying is completely backwards. Chapter 1. The Lie Detection Myth.
So we need to clear the air about those popular tells we all grew up believing, because they are literally dead wrong. For decades, traditional police manuals, like the famous Reed technique by Inbaugh, taught investigators to look for things like gaze aversion, unnatural posture changes, and fidgeting. But get this, science actually shows that teaching these cues makes people worse at spotting lies. Fidgeting is usually just normal nervous energy. An innocent person who is terrified of not being believed, they're going to fidget just as much, if not more, than a guilty person. The reality here is that lying creates a massive cognitive load, which actually leads to rigidness, not fidgeting.
And this perfectly illustrates a great point by Professor Leanne Tenbrinke. She says, there's no Pinocchio's nose. Despite what you might see in Hollywood movies or hear from body language gurus online, there's absolutely no single, universal physical trait that exposes a liar. You can't just spot a tiny twitch or a head scratch and shout, "Aha, caught you." The real world is way messier than that.
In fact, prepare for a major pattern interrupt here, because this is super counterintuitive. Liars actually smile less and look almost too smooth. Most of us just assume liars try to cover their tracks with big fake smiles, right? But research shows the exact opposite. Because liars are trying so unbelievably hard to control their behavior and fit this cultural stereotype of an honest person, they over-control themselves. They become unusually stiff, they pull back on hand movements, and their speech can just sound way too rehearsed and polished.
Chapter 2. The Science of Deception.
All right, now that we've busted those myths, let's pop the hood and look at the actual psychology here. Why is lying so incredibly difficult for our brains to pull off? Well, there is literally an internal war happening inside a liar's brain, and it boils down to 3 main processes: emotional reaction, cognitive overload, and behavioral control. Deception isn't just about feeling a little ping of guilt. It is a massive cognitive overload. Think about it. You have to invent a fake story, remember exactly what you just said, monitor the other person's reaction, suppress your own nerves, and somehow remember to act exactly like an honest person would. It is completely exhausting.
And because of all that heavy mental lifting, lying causes your brain to basically drop the ball on body language. When your brain is working overtime to fabricate a story and keep all those fake details straight, it simply forgets to animate your body naturally. Your normal, everyday hand gestures decrease, and your physical expressions just lose that natural, spontaneous flow.
Chapter 3. The Body's Hidden Tells.
So, if the brain is dropping the ball, where does the truth actually leak out? Well, I'm going to open a loop here and tease that there's one specific body part that almost always gives away a liar. But first, let's talk about the hands. Open palms are universally associated with honesty. While a deceiver can easily rehearse their words, showing an open palm is a deeply unconscious gesture of truth. If someone is genuinely explaining why they couldn't do something, they'll usually show you their palms. On the flip side, hiding hands in pockets is a classic unconscious evasion tactic for people holding back the truth. It's kind of like keeping their body language mouth firmly shut. And this leads us perfectly into the 3 wise monkeys effect in behavioral psychology. You know the ones. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. Well, just like those monkeys, human brains subconsciously try to cover vulnerable parts of the body when deceitful words are spoken. Lying makes us feel exposed, like we're open to attack. So people will unconsciously try to block communication. Take a look at this micro gesture of the hand covering the mouth. The brain is subconsciously instructing the hand to literally suppress the deceitful words coming out. Sometimes it's a full hand over the mouth, sometimes it's just a couple of fingers over the lips, or even a fake cough used to mask the whole gesture. But it's an incredibly common physical leak when someone's being dishonest. Then
there's the famous collar pull. This one is absolutely fascinating. So, behavioral zoologist Desmond Morris discovered that lying literally spikes your blood pressure. This causes a tingling sensation in the delicate tissues of the face and neck, and it often creates a tiny bit of sweat. The deceiver feels this overwhelming physical urge to pull at their collar to let some air in, or they'll scratch their neck just to relieve that deceit-induced tingle.
But what's the ultimate giveaway? Remember that loop I opened earlier? Watch the feet. Yup, the feet. Most liars focus all their cognitive energy on controlling their facial expressions, and maybe their hands, but they completely forget to police what their feet are doing under the table.
Renowned psychologist Paul Ekman actually documented this exact phenomenon. He noted that observers have a much greater success rate exposing lies when they can see the person's entire body. See, when someone is lying, they feel vulnerable, and their body's primal instinct is to flee. So you'll often see their feet involuntarily start to shuffle, tap, or even point directly toward the door in unconscious preparation for a quick getaway.
Chapter 4. The eyes reveal all. Now, while we already established that simply looking away or avoiding eye contact is a total myth, the eyes do betray cognitive overload in entirely different, much more scientific ways that you simply cannot fake. Take a look at the difference between normal blinking and deceptive blinking. Eye-tracking research, like the studies by Fukuda, proved that intense concentration during a lie actually causes our blink rate to plummet. Because the brain is working so hard to construct the lie, the eyes kind of stare and blink way less during the actual false statement. Then, the blinks speed up rapidly right afterward as that cognitive load is finally lifted.
And even deeper than blinking is pupil dilation. Pupil dilation is a direct index of cognitive processing. You absolutely cannot fake this. It is a completely involuntary physiological reaction to the high stakes, arousal, and extreme mental gymnastics required to lie. When your brain goes into overdrive to deceive someone, your pupils widen. It's just biology.
Chapter 5. How to spot liars. Okay, so we've got all this incredible science. Let's bring it all home and put this masterclass to work so you can actually use these tools in your everyday conversations. This is your ultimate lie detection toolkit based on the 6-channel analysis system or SCANS. Step 1. Find the baseline. You absolutely must know what is normal for a person before you judge them. If your colleague has ADHD and always fidgets, well, that's just their baseline. It doesn't mean they're lying. Step 2. Look for congruence. Do their words actually match their body language? And step 3. Spot the clusters. Remember, there's no single Pinocchio's nose out there, so you're looking for a cluster of these subtle, inconsistent behaviors happening at the exact same time.
So the crucial point here is this multiplier 5 times. Research shows that nonverbal signals carry about 5 times as much impact as the spoken word. When the words and the body language contradict each other, the human brain instinctively relies on the nonverbal message and pretty much disregards the verbal content.
You really have to watch out for situations where words say one thing but animated gestures and smiles say another. For example, if someone is telling you this tragic, sad story about why they missed work, but their body posture is super excited, their hands are animated, and they're smiling, the channels are incongruent. It's easy to lie with words, but our bodies know the truth, and they usually show it. Which leaves us with a final thought. Knowing all of this, understanding cognitive load, those hidden tells of the hands and feet, the involuntary reactions of the eyes, and the absolute necessity of establishing a baseline, will you ever look at a conversation the exact same way again? I challenge you to test this toolkit in the real world. Pay attention to the complete picture in your next interaction and see just how loud the unspoken truth really is. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and hey, keep your eyes open.